Welcome to Roundhouse Roulette, a Walker, Texas Ranger podcast. Thanks for joining us as we recap and review one of the 200 existing Walker, Texas Ranger episodes randomly selected by Roundhouse Roulette. I'm Evan Dalton, here with my brother Adam.
Dalton.
Okay.
Yikes. Okay, it's happening already. And a man whose butt once came in third place at the local rodeo, Mr. Bob Leahy.
Pleasure to be here.
We'd like to thank you all for joining us as we review Chuck Norris's showcase of the 1990s Central Texas rodeo scene. Today we'll be recapping and reviewing, of course, Season 4, Episode 12, entitled Rodeo, where Walker and company joined the rodeo circuit to protect Alex's old flame from a series of hitmen. But, before we grab our cowboy hats, unbutton our denim shirts down to our belly buttons, and squeeze into a pair of jeans, join us as we pull up a stool at CD's Bar and Grill. What's going on? The bar's closed.
Yeah, I mean, of all the times that we come to CD's here, he has a pretty good track record of staying open, but every once in a while, he has to close it for a private event and shut podcasts like us out.
I mean, this has happened in the past. I think we went dumpster diving last time.
Yeah, he usually has like the craft beers that he's like, I don't want craft beer on tap here. He usually has them in the dumpster. So let's see if we can dig in and see what we find.
Yeah, let's crack open this dumpster.
Oh, I got a Tunnel Vision IPA from Bearded Iris. He probably wasn't into that, Bearded Iris. Come on.
Yeah, no.
Some flower stuff. That's really weird.
Yeah, too flowery for him. What do you got, Evan?
Oh, I pulled out a red tape amber lager. This is from Jack's Abbey. I'm assuming he must have cut through all the red tape, and that's why it's in the dumpster.
Sure enough. Bob, what do you got?
I got a Bungalow Glow from Castle Island, which is a sour ale with lime, oranges, chilies, and salt.
I don't think we need any explanation as to why that's in the dumpster.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
CD likes his chili, though, so I don't know.
Maybe just not in the beer, though.
Yeah, it's a little too highfalutin for him.
Let's pop these dumpster pops. This beer is awful. I can see why it was in the trash.
This is the one time Bob regrets his pledge to only get 16-ounce cans of beer.
Yeah, exactly. It's spicy. Oh. Oh, my.
All right, well, yeah, just to kick things off here, I had a thought about last week's episode. What was it called?
The Return of LaRue.
Okay, yeah. And in it, there's a crazed killer/rapist coming after Alex, and Walker, in order to protect her, what does he do?
He brings her to his ranch.
Exactly. And you would think that Walker's ranch is the safest place on Earth, right?
Of course.
And it got me thinking about the second episode in the two-parter, Lucas, when he did the same thing when there was a murderer out looking to kill Haley Joel Osment. Took him to his ranch, and while Walker's outside, and the house is in the middle of a field, it's not like you can really sneak up on it. In both instances, the bad guy got in to torment Alex and a young Haley Joel Osment, with Walker protecting him.
We haven't gotten to it, but in Season 2 it happens as well.
If Walker offers to protect you, you should say, come to my house.
Yeah, maybe go to Trevette's pad.
Yeah. Too many people have it out for Walker, and, it's a big house. There are a lot of places you can get in,
I mean, the other thing is, in both of these instances, there's no explanation as to how that bad guy actually made it there. Like, there's no car, there's no anything. They just, walked to Walker's house.
Well, let's see what's happening on the socials.
What is happening on the socials?
Well, in response to your magnificent gif of Walker's hot air balloon to hot air balloon vehicular transference, we heard from Carrie Cook on Facebook.
She feels the same way I feel about Trent's 70s powder blue Corvette with the pale cloth top. Pretty legit. Of course, in this first episode, he rides a really stupid motorcycle.
Yeah, she's like, this is the episode that brought Trent into the show and loved his vet. So, his Corvette is probably one of his best personality traits.
That's the only thing I appreciate about him, quite frankly. Actually, no, in that opening scene where he puts someone in the Boston Crab.
Well, I was cruising the internet looking for Walker stuff at one point and came across like this blog that had a bunch of high-res Walker pics, including one that had like Walker with Trent and Tommy. I'm going to pull this up here. Evan, can you break this picture down for us here?
Sure. So we've got Trent Malloy and his little brother, Tommy. Trent is in his full-on his army dress uniform. Walker is in his funeral attire, which is black jeans with his fancy black belt with a silver buckle, white collarless shirt with a bolo, and Tommy looks like he just stepped off of the baseball diamond. He's got like his baggy red shirt and baggy husky jeans. Well, okay. Can we get out of this rabbit hole and get back into like the actual podcast? Or
oh yeah.
I think we got a few more.
oh, God.
Do you guys want to talk about Joe Rogan?
Definitely not.
Well, I feel like we have something in common, and we both have highly successful podcasts. So.
Exactly, you know.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I've got a fresh batch of Chuck Norris action figures.
Those action figures probably survived because they're Chuck Norris's likeness. But I'm assuming from that TV show there were more action figures than just Chuck Norris. Is that one of them?
Yes.
Okay, so they did survive. All right, never mind.
But yeah, I got a new batch of Chuck Norris action figures in. And we're going to be getting them up on our web store if people are interested. They are ridiculous.
Will they be cleaned and buffed?
I give every action figure a personal sponge bath before we put it up there because...
A thorough wipe down.
Yeah, just throw them in the dishwasher.
That would probably...
No. I give them a soak and a massage, and then I let them dry on a bath towel, let it all air out. And... because I want them to be clean. I don't know where they've been. You know, it's a Chuck Norris action figure. How many adventures have they had since 1986?
Probably a few.
A ton.
Yeah.
Do you think they're vaccinated?
Not necessarily.
We won't go there.
Vaccines don't work anyway, so it doesn't matter. Oh, maybe that'll get us some hits.
Oh
Ooh.
yeah. Unbelievable.
I think Neil Young left Spotify because we're on there.
That's what I heard.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Okay, well, we've got a lot to get to, so let's dig on into it. So if any of you are following along at home, hit that pause button and watch Season 4, Episode 12, Rodeo, and come right on back to us. Welcome back. Let's dig into this episode here. This one originally aired on January 6th, 1996, and it opens up on a fine establishment called Touch of Class.
Just a touch. I'm
not gonna lie. I looked for this restaurant and I don't think it exists anymore, unfortunately.
It looked like it was hanging on a thread before its owner was murdered, but that's what happens in this scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like this guy like cleaning up the bar to some country music, and then there's like some assassin peeking around the corner with like a Han Solo blaster or something.
Yeah, he was like Roger Goodell mixed with the Terminator.
Oh my God.
Anyways, yeah, that guy's this guy in like a leather coat and wraparound sunglasses and a really shiny gun sort of sneaks around the corner and takes out the bartender. Hard cut to, and you can tell this is season 4 because there isn't a crazy zoom transition.
Yeah, good point.
I think they discovered those in season 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, which actually it gives these earlier Walker episodes more of a chill vibe. You know what I mean? It's kind of refreshing. They get so bombastic in the later seasons that you're like, wow, this is kind of different.
And it somehow makes them less dated, even though they're older.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So then we cut on over to the gym where Walker's in a ridiculous gi that says Machado down the legs. And there are 4 guys in the ring practicing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And Walker's telling Trevette all about them, and it's really weird. I don't really understand why this happened, except maybe Walker owed them a favor. Now, Carlos Machado plays himself in this episode. He's credited with sort of bringing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu into the forefront. He also was the trainer for Chuck Norris for the movie Hellbound, which we need to get to.
That's definitely on the list.
He's credited as one of the fight trainers for that film.
But they've also been on a number of episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger. And if you guys click on this link here, it says Chuck Norris has always been a martial arts enthusiast and wanted to learn jiu-jitsu from the source. So he began training jiu-jitsu with the Machado brothers to add to his existing martial arts knowledge. And then essentially he brought him onto the show, and one of the brothers moved out to Dallas to start his own dojo.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I did know something was up with them because they didn't really get an introduction. You could tell that they weren't really actors.
It was weird.
Yeah, I was just like, these guys are probably important, but
yeah.
I didn't look them up, but this ties it all together.
Now, I will say that this seems on point with Chuck Norris's kind of past in that, he took over the Taekwondo scene when he started learning some of the Korean techniques and employed those. And that's how he vaulted to all of his success, was because he was bringing in new techniques. And jiu-jitsu is very similar. It's like ground grappling. It's very similar to judo, which is something that Chuck Norris was also very good at. I'm sure that he was using his training in Brazilian jiu-jitsu to sort of increase his knowledge and capacity for traditional judo.
So what happens in the scene, though, when Walker just shows up in the dojo and introduces these guys?
That's basically all that happens. He introduces them. And while he's grappling with 4 younger males and besting all but one,
he kind of says, these guys are world champions, right? And Trevette's like, oh, well, then I'd like to see you fight them. And so Walker goes up to the first one. You're like, he's going to put up a fight? No, Walker pins him in 2 seconds.
Yeah,
he does that for like 3 brothers in a row, right?
Right. And Trevette's cheering for anyone to best Walker, but
it's a rough episode for Trevette.
Yeah,
It really is.
No kidding. God.
So you're rooting for him here. You're like, oh man, I hope he gets some satisfaction.
But sure enough, when he's down 3 of these brothers in the ring, he's like, well, I'll fight the big brother Carlos. Let's see what's up. And Carlos gets him pinned. And while he's pinned, Trevette gets a phone call. Oh, hey, Walker, we got to go. And Walker's like, oh, thank God, because I can't breathe. And Walker taps the mat.
I know, you get to see him tap out.
Doesn't happen very often, folks.
So that's also kind of a charity move to the Machado brothers, that they let the character Walker lose.
It's a nod of respect.
Totally. Usually Walker wouldn't let like a 2-year-old win at checkers. You know what I'm saying?
No, not a chance.
He's all business.
Mm-hmm. So I guess Walker and Trevette have been called in to the scene of the crime that we witnessed at the opening scene of this episode. So they go to Touch of Class, and they realize that this guy, he was the second of 3 witnesses against infamous mob boss Victor DeMarco, which we've never heard of before, but we know from the name.
Oh, yeah.
He's a bad guy.
That's a decent name. That's a great bad guy name.
It sure is. And they're like, well, that leaves only Dalton Reed. Cut to credits.
Yeah. The moment they said that, I was like, we're going to get multiple sound clips of Walker saying Dalton, Evan and my last name, the whole episode.
Gonna be your ringtone.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we get the credits, and where does it pick up after the credits?
Oh, they go back to the courthouse, and Alex is watching Trevette poorly interrogate somebody. I don't know. It's confusing. I don't really understand the purpose of this.
It looked like he was in like a interrogation room with the bad guy Victor DeMarco in the past, because it's on VHS, and it looked like he was playing the good cop. And I was like, oh, when's Walker going to come in and play the bad cop? But there was no Walker.
Did you notice some of the phrases that DeMarco was using?
Oh,
No,
I had a good one. Oh, groin pull like you, yanking my chain. I was like,
a groin pull?
Yeah, that's great. I'm putting that one in the arsenal.
I got to use that. That's
Freaking groin pull. Oh.
Oh, man. So the Rangers come in, and And Alex is all, I guess she's studying some of the evidence because I guess DeMarco got a retrial. And
probably because Walker like beat his face in without getting a warrant.
Yeah, probably. But she's like, we've only got 2 witnesses left. And the Rangers are like, nope, make that 1. And Walker's all like, look, we need to find Dalton Reed. Do you know where he is? And she's like, yeah, I haven't kept in touch with him. And Walker's all like, we'll find him. So, they do their classic hitting the phones, detective work. And Walker's all like, oh, okay, Trevette. Well, hold on a sec. I'm just going to call this phone line that keeps track of every rodeo person in the state.
Rodeo hotline.
Right. He calls them immediately, and they're like, oh, yeah, he's going to be in Houston, and then he's going to go up to Austin. And Walker's like, okay, cool. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go do that. Trevette, you ask your contacts if any hitmen are in town.
Yeah. Check in with your CIs.
Do informants for the police like know when hitmen are around? Like, because the hitmen,
it's their job to know. Okay.
Okay,
that's why they're informants.
Put their fingers on the pulse of the hitmen community. Oh, yeah. Seems like they'd be on a separate wavelength than your general crime.
Well, whether or not that's true, the spoiler alert, nothing comes of that. So it is very much busy work for Trevette.
Yeah.
Right. Because he's like, oh, I'll go with you to find this Dalton Reed guy. And he's like, no, you why don't you just go ask pointless
do something
questions.
Useless over there.
Yeah.
And that's because we find out Walker's bringing along Alex to go to the rodeo. And we find out that Alex, she's got some history with Dalton. So, yeah, apparently Alex dated him. And, we see a little bit of a flashback with her dancing after the trial. And it's getting pretty hot and heavy.
Yeah, she kind of like zoned out with Walker in the car. That their conversation like must have gone cold. And then she started thinking about Dalton, her old lover.
I don't think you can say it's gone cold. I think you say it just goes colder. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Walker and Alex have almost zero chemistry throughout the first several seasons. And
we found out why when we talked to Michael Priest, the director, right? He said it was like a directive from the studio that, hey, you don't let your leads get together right away. But they changed course on that after a number of seasons. But
I'm just going to say that Dalton Reed and Alex Cahill have serious chemistry in this entire episode.
Mm-hmm. Walker's actually kind of being the gentleman, being like, hey, I know you have feelings for this guy. We've hinted that there's kind of some feelings between us, but, love's love. And if you have feelings for this guy, I'm gonna support that.
Hashtag friend zone.
Yeah, Walker's in the friend zone.
He put himself in the friend zone.
Well, his badge is his mistress, as Trevette likes to say.
Oh, gross.
Anyway, they have the car ride, and we kind of learn that there's the history there, the weird flashback to Alex and Dalton dancing. And they could have flashed back to like way further back in her life, but they flash back to right after the trial ended where she was trying Victor DeMarco the first time. And apparently Dalton Reed testified and put Victor DeMarco away. That's where they met. So Alex Cahill, she pulls from her witness list for her date box.
I've got a question. If that's true, how would Victor DeMarco find himself in a situation where he's on trial again for something totally different, and one of the witnesses is, again, this guy Dalton?
He probably got off the first time because Victor DeMarco's like, hey, look, the assistant district attorney was dating the key witness.
Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a good point.
All we have to say is it happened on a technicality and move forward.
That's right. The justice system works for the criminals.
Yep.
Okay. I retract my previous statement.
So they make it to the rodeo, and this is a great rodeo. It's really fantastic. It's world famous. The cardboard cutout sign says so.
Yeah.
I took a screenshot of the crowd at this rodeo. One, there seems to be a Ron Swanson in the audience.
That mustache, it doesn't even match the color of his hair.
It's incredible. And 2, you might notice a guy with glasses and a beard in the back.
Yeah.
I was wondering about him the whole episode. And then later on in the episode, at the next rodeo, we see a close-up of that guy with presumably his wife. And confirmed. Same guy from season 9 Division Street, who I have a gif of saying, "Wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it myself."
He was the old guy extra in the episode with Hulk Hogan.
Recurring featured extra.
Yes, he is. Confirmed. So, we learned Alex used to barrel race, and I was thinking, boy, is this like foreshadowing? Are we going to see her jump on a horse and barrel race to victory at the end? But spoiler alert, that does not happen.
No, does not.
Instead, another woman is doing the barrel race, and one of the bulls gets loose, as often happens at the world-famous Fort Worth Rodeo, and gets into the ring, and both Walker and Dalton, who they're looking for, run in to save this woman. And Walker, of course, saves the damsel in distress by dragging her to the side, and Dalton distracts the sprung loose bull, and it's all good.
The music in this section, you catch the orchestra hits.
Oh my God, yes. Thank you for bringing that up. It was like someone had a keyboard and it was like the orchestra hit thing. Bam, bam. You better throw a few of the bumps in here when you edit this podcast, Bob, to let people know what we're talking about.
Oh, they're coming. They're coming in hot.
Well, I'll say that damsel in distress, she seems pretty smitten with Walker.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
So after this whole run-in with the bull, Alex finds Dalton, and she's like, "Long time no see." And it seems like they don't really have that many differences. The only difference is that he had to travel for work, and she worked a lot. So she's like, "Oh, DeMarco, he's killed the other two witnesses." And she's like, "You know what I need?" And he's like, "Oh, absolutely not. I definitely won't. Like, I can't, I'm not going to do that." And they're like, "Wait, you're not going to testify?" He's like, No, I'll testify. I just don't want protective custody. It's really kind of confusing.
Yeah, that was.
Well, it actually wasn't confusing because he justified it. He's like, look, he's like, "I'll testify," which usually in a lesser Walker episode, the whole show would have been about getting him to testify. But again, because they've already illustrated he's a good guy, no, he's going to testify. But he's not going to let a criminal change his life and, not continue doing the rodeo, which is what he's dedicated his life to. So props to him for that. And that was his explanation.
Yeah. I mean, he lives by his own code. And so he leaves, and Walker's like, "Well, how did it go?" And Alex is like, "Man, I must have a thing for exasperating men. It's a habit I'd like to break." And then she walks away, and Walker just stands there.
Dalton's not a man you can force an issue into. He lives by his own code, Alex.
Yeah, and he's stubborn as the day is long.
Yeah, and that too.
I seem to have a thing for exasperating men. It's really a habit I'd like to break.
Cue the cheesy dobro riffs.
So Walker and Alex are seemingly driving home from Fort Worth. Then Walker, he spells it out for us, even though we'd already thought it.
Dalton may live by his own code. So do I.
There you go. So we're going to protect this guy.
Yeah, so we're just going to essentially follow him from rodeo to rodeo, protecting him. Because I guess the rodeo circuit, they go from city to city. Is that how it works? I guess, yeah, it's like anything, right? It's like a tour.
Like a circus, yeah.
Bob, did you ever do any rodeo stuff?
Some light stuff in my mid-20s, yeah.
Light rodeo,
yeah. Nothing too serious, but, I put in my time.
Yeah, I was really deep into it, but we'll get into that later.
Okay. So, the next morning they're at a motel, and Alex, she's walking down, and I guess, at this point, they're not staying in the same motel room. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought. I was like, oh, so Walker and Alex didn't share a hotel room. Again, they're not together yet.
She knocks on the door, and I'm thinking, like, is that woman from the rodeo going to be answering the door? Ooh. Like, is there going to be a little bit of conflict here?
That would have been interesting. But no, this is still the 90s TV. They're not going to do that. Walker's
too wholesome. So who answers the door?
We got a big old CD, and Jimmy and a couple other guys. They brought like the whole Texas Ranger crew.
I think in these early episodes, they still kind of pretend that CD, he's a retired ranger, but he's still going on stakeouts.
Yeah, you can't take the ranger out of CD, really.
They're like, well, it's the only way we could write him into the episode without having him at CD's Bar and Grill.
I'm glad they did.
I'm not complaining.
we were complaining about for a while that we didn't see CD that much. Now he's been in a few episodes in a row. Now it's been a while since we've been to the bar, though.
Yeah, I mean, even today, we were shut down from
We're
CD's
locked
Bar
out.
and Grill. This episode, no CD's Bar and Grill. Well, so Alex is like, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, we've got the whole crew and we're going to be here to watch out for Dalton, to make sure he's safe. And Walker goes, Alex, go get Dalton. And she's like, where's Dalton? Is he at this hotel? Did he sleep with you last night, Walker? What? And he's like, oh, no, he's over there. And he points outside and there's, what'd you call it, a RV?
Yeah, that right there is a recreational vehicle.
Yeah. So she goes and knocks on the back door of this thing. And I'm like thinking, oh, man, he's going to have to like put on his shoes or something. But dude, Dalton opens that door right away.
Yeah, he's got his denim shirt like unbuttoned down to the navel. He's just oozing pure sex appeal, and Alex is loving it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he looks over and he sees this ranger in the parking lot. He's like, I hope that guy's your security detail. And she's like, besides Mercedes, RVs are the most stolen vehicle out there. They just pick up where they left off, those two.
Yeah.
So they bring Dalton into the command center, and they're like, look, man, you need some protection. He's like, I'll only go along with it as long as Walker competes in the bull riding competition.
Well, naturally.
Yeah, and Dalton says this. He says this completely jokingly, like with a wink, and Walker's all like, "Yeah, okay."
He's like, "Well," he didn't even. He's like reluctantly. He's like, "Yeah, I guess if that's what it's going to take." It's like, what? Who makes that deal?
After Dalton leaves, he's like, "Man, Walker, why did you agree to that?" He's like, "Well, there was no other way." It's like, did you bargain with him at all? No, you wanted to ride that bull.
He was trying to impress Alex.
Makes good TV.
Well, it does make good TV, but look, he's trying to win Alex's heart the same way that Dalton did through the rodeo.
No, I think he's still asexual in this episode.
Okay.
There's nothing going on there. I was looking for it. I'm like, oh, wait, are they?
There was one scene where she kind of like leans on him after they're talking about her relationship with Dalton.
Yeah, it's a big hug, and I'm like, no, he is firmly in the friend zone.
Friend zone.
Yeah.
Friend zone.
It's like
Friend
100%.
zone. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
So, Walker and team, they keep strategizing while Dalton goes to get breakfast, and Alex drops in on him at breakfast. At this point, I'm wondering, who's protecting Dalton here? Like, they're completely out of surveillance here at this point, but that seems to be fine with everybody. But again, they pile on the chemistry. Like, Alex, she remembers the types of preserves he likes for his pancakes, and they're staring longingly into each other's eyes. Far more chemistry than I think we ever see between Alex and Walker.
Yeah, sparks are flying.
So we are then transported to the rodeo in Austin, and Walker does his little bull riding, and we realize that Trevette, he's deep undercover. And instead of like CD, who's at the concession stand, or the other rangers who are just hanging around, Trevette is deep undercover as a rodeo clown. Because this show can't step further on Clarence Gilliard's classically trained acting prowess than putting him in face paint and having him get chased around by bulls.
Earlier, Walker's like, CD, you run the concessions. Like, okay, that makes sense. He's going to sell chili at the concession stand. Like, they're going to be undercover, but it turns out they're all very, very obviously surveilling the place,
Right, carrying with radios.
With radios.
Yeah, like at first I thought like giving CD the concession stand was demeaning, and then Walker's like, "Oh no, we got something totally different for you, Trevette. You're the rodeo clown."
It's tough.
Yeah, which, let's face it, there's zero surveillance you can be doing when you're running away from a bull. So they're just trying to keep him busy.
They're just pranking him, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Walker gets on the bull, right?
Oh yeah, Walker does his little bull riding. Very exciting.
Some slow-mo footage.
Yeah, they show Chuck Norris getting on the bull in the stall, and then once they let it loose, I wonder if this was Kenny Gibson or an actual bull rider, because I would think you'd have to ride a bull, right? Like, you'd get a bull rider who looked like Chuck Norris,
You
maybe?
think Kenny hasn't ridden a bull?
I'm not saying that he couldn't do it.
Unless there's something very obvious that tells us that it's not him, I think we can safely assume that all crazy stunts like this are Kenny Gibson.
Until told otherwise.
Exactly,
Totally
yeah.
all right with that.
Yeah.
it appears that Walker's stunt double is just hanging on for dear life on this bull. And then there are some like from the ground shots of Chuck Norris, maybe on an electronic bull.
Yeah.
Nah, he's not doing very much. I think they're just moving the camera. So CD, he's got some reconnaissance. He saw one shady character. Some really good detective work here where the guy is wearing wraparound sunglasses like Ray Charles wears. And he was walking in his boots like they were brand new. Of course, no one sees that guy at all. And instead we see like a guy dressed in the concession outfit selling popcorn and looking really shady. Meanwhile, Alex, she catches up with the woman who was almost taken out by the bull earlier on in Fort Worth, and that woman's friend, and they're sizing up the competition. And Alex is all like, wow, you think they rode that bull really well? And she's all like, oh, honey, we're sizing up the real competition. We're judging these cowboys' rear ends.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. And these are what I've learned the term is buckle bunnies. Okay, and they're the women that chase the rodeo men.
They're like groupies, but for rodeos.
Exactly, they're called buckle bunnies. When I was in the rodeo, you learn pretty
Some
quick.
Stories, yeah.
Okay, well there you go. I guess there were a couple of buckle bunnies, and they were sizing up the competition, and Walker apparently was doing really well.
Yeah, they said his butt was tied for number one, is what we hear.
Cut to a scene of looking up at a roof and a guy with a machine gun. And when I saw this, I was like, what is happening? Is this outside the rodeo? What is going on? And then we see inside a prison. And that's when we realize we're not at the rodeo anymore.
Yeah, that was confusing.
I guess that was the establishing shot. But it was not clear it was a prison.
You know what would have made it clear?
It's true.
If we had the zoom transition.
Totally right.
Wow. So you think the swoosh sounds make up for sloppy scene leading?
I think so.
Yeah, it can make it easier.
I think we just hit on something here. I think this. Yeah. Were you guys taking it back? I was like, wait, there's a guy with a machine gun on top of the rodeo?
Exactly. Yeah, I thought the same thing. And I was like,
Okay.
Or we're like Pavlov's dogs, or if we don't hear the whoosh, then we don't know. Maybe it's us. Maybe we're the problem.
Wow. Yeah. And this meeting is with Vincent DeMarco and his legal counsel, and his lawyer's like, hey, I've got great news. I've got this defense where all you got to say is, look, it was the way you were brought up that made you a bad guy. And Vincent DeMarco's like, are you crazy? I've almost killed off all the witnesses, and you want me to plead guilty by insanity?
And so he's like, look, my guys are on it. They're going to take this guy out. And the lawyer's like, whoa, this is getting too real. Like when you killed the first two witnesses,
it wasn't
that
real.
Didn't do it for me. But now you're going to kill the third witness. I'm out. And DeMarco's like, nope, you're in it now. And if you're not in that courtroom, I'm taking you out and your wife.
Wow. Yeah.
And, therein we have a pretty much squandered guest appearance by Joseph Campanella. And that's about it. He was their guest star for this episode. And
he was in like 2 scenes.
Yep.
In the first scene, he wasn't even in the scene, really. He was in a scene on a closed circuit camera that we saw.
So there really was just a VHS playing of him in this scene, and that's it?
There may have been, there's a third one right after a failed assassination attempt, which is what we see right now. This is when the popcorn guy sneaks up and after Dalton's bull ride, and he's macking on Alex. And the popcorn guy, who couldn't look more suspicious if he tried, is like creeping around, but he's in like a red and white. He's a red and white striped outfit, creeping around, and then he pulls a knife out of a bucket of popcorn and jumps at Dalton. And Walker like jumps in the way, tumbles on the ground, and must use his new Brazilian jiu-jitsu moves. And the guy rolls over on his knife and dies.
Yeah, so it was like, accidental murder by Walker.
Alex is just not going to give up on him. Dalton's just terrified he's going to hurt everyone around him. And she's like, look, I'm not giving up on you. I've got my own code too, turning the tables on you. So let's dance at this honky tonk. And they're lighting it up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, at the side of the dance floor, Walker and Trevette and CD are hanging out with the two Buckle Bunnies. And it's funny because Trevette wasn't able to remove part of his makeup.
But he was kind of covering it up. CD's like, Jimmy, why do you have your hand on your face? What do you have covered up on your face? And
you look like the cat that ate the canary.
Yeah, what are you hiding from us there, partner? And Walker's like, show him, Trevette. And then he takes his hand off, and he's got the makeup he can't get off from being a rodeo clown. God damn it!
Oh, yeah, he really gets it good in this one.
Yep.
But the Buckle Bunny, the blonde Buckle Bunny, who was all over Walker. Walker saved her life. She's like, look, I've got some makeup remover that she had some folksy saying that could remove grease off a garage floor. Trevette's like, thanks so much. And he starts taking off his face paint. And we're like, thank God. Hopefully he doesn't have to dress up as a rodeo clown again.
And while he's removing the makeup, CD's diving in on the girl that gave him the makeup remover. And CD's taking her to dance. And Walker's dancing with the other lady. And she's all like, you came in first today. And he's like, no, I came in fifth. And she's like, no, you tied for first for the best behind. And he's like, oh, who did I tie with? And she's like, oh, that fellow over there. And apparently Walker, he tied with Dalton for best bud at the rodeo.
Hashtag Dalton's buns.
Let me throw out this question here. What's less realistic? Okay, what's more far-fetched? That Walker, A, would tie with anyone on an episode of Walker, or B, that he would come in fifth place at a rodeo?
Well, he was riding a bull for the first time. I'm assuming he was winging that.
It was funny. Earlier, when he said that he was going to ride the bull, Trevette actually said to him, he says, you haven't ridden a bull in a year.
Right.
He said, a year, 1 year. And I was just like, that's better than never having ridden one at all.
that was a great aside.
Oh, man.
Anyways, he seems quite flattered. At this point, we realize that the hitman, the guy in the leather coat, he looks like a bargain basement, like Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
He's at the bar. He does the classic Walker move where instead of trying to take things into his own hands, he decides to get some random patrons at the bar to pick a fight with Walker and his crew. And I think he could have picked anyone else for this task, but instead he picked like the middle-aged guys just slumming around at the bar. The guy's like, okay, I'll do it, and accepts this bill. And he looks down and he's like, oh, a C note. Like he was ready to do it for $5. Anywho, these guys roll up on the table, and it looks like it's about to be like a vintage Walker Texas Ranger fight. And the leader of the group goes around and he basically tries to ask this Buckle Bunny. Is that the term?
You're getting it. It's like C note. We got C note. We got Buckle Bunny.
Right. And he's like, oh, I want to take you for a dance. And she's like, no, I'm occupied. And Walker's just tries to be the gentleman and tries to break it off, but the guy is very persistent. And it looks like Dalton's going to stand up and try to fight. And Walker's like, no, Dalton, sit down. I will take care of this. This is my TV show.
Yeah.
Right. Just in case the people watching this were questioning that for a minute.
Right. And at this point, I'm like, finally, some form of action in this episode. We're halfway through it. Like, come on now.
Yeah, I know.
And you even get the shot where you see all five guys standing around with so much space around them. And it's like, okay, this is going down. And Walker's about to like make his first move when the four Brazilian brothers show up.
Yeah, the Mikado brothers just happened to be going to the same bar.
Totally different city.
It was a different city?
I think they were in Austin at this point, weren't they?
Yep.
Maybe they were touring Texas and,
And they're like, oh, there's some trouble here? And Walker's like, oh, you guys will take care of this. And Walker basically goes and sits down while the Jiu-Jitsu brothers just like take out these goons. And all the while the Jiu-Jitsu brothers are taking out the goons, the hitman has this silver gun trying to get a good clear shot at Dalton, but he can't get one. And the leader of the bad guys says something like, oh, this wasn't worth $100. And at that point, the hitman runs away. And Walker realizes that the shooter's on the premises.
He's like, all right, get everybody out of here. Let's case the place for the assassin. And then you're thinking like, oh, maybe they'll catch the assassin, but then it just cuts to the next scene.
Which is at the next rodeo, and Alex gets out of her trailer, and Walker's like, oh, late night. And she's like, boy, I just couldn't sleep. I was just thinking so much about Dalton, and I just don't know what to do. And Walker's all like, well, you know, he loves you. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, I can see in his eyes. And she's like, wow. And really just sort of undercutting the seriousness of this episode, the next scene is Trevette getting makeup tips from a guy dressed as a clown.
He's the senior rodeo clown.
Yeah. And he tells him that he needs to be putting on the cream-based makeup first.
Yeah, so you can get the other ones off. That's what was the problem.
Hashtag pro clown tip.
Well, yeah. Hashtag not clowning.
Yeah. We had to get to know this clown.
Of course.
We had to create a human connection.
He was a
with him.
good guy.
Yeah, so this clown gets a name. We're not going to remember his name, and that's fine. And Alex sees Dalton in the makeup studio or whatever, or the makeup room, and he's like, boy, I was thinking about you all night, and I was just so sad when I woke up and you weren't next to me. And she's like, how did you feel over the last few years when I wasn't next to you? And then she gives him the cold shoulder, and he's like, point taken.
He chose the rodeo life over a heavenly life, betting the assistant district attorney.
Mm-hmm. So he, does what any good rodeo guy would do, He gets onto the next bull. And so he gets onto the bull, and he's riding the bull, and he gets bucked off the bull. And just as he's being helped out by this rodeo clown we just met, the assassin trains his sights on Dalton, and the clown looks up and he goes, gun! and then immediately is shot dead.
Yeah, the rodeo clown jumps in the way of the bullet from the assassin, who's like, I guess, up in the box seats, up in the way top of this rodeo. And he saves Dalton's life by taking the bullet for him.
Yeah. Definitely best death ever. Come on now.
Yeah, definitely
Incredible.
on the list for sure. Top 5.
Incredible.
Anyway.
Best rodeo clown out there.
Yeah. Walker sees the assassin and shoots him from the grandstands. And
Luxury
the guy,
box.
Yeah, the guy falls like 4 stories down into a cattle corral.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is when someone's up on a balcony and they get shot and they fall forward. I love it so much. Like it happens very frequently in this show.
They essentially go over and check him to make sure he's dead.
Well, he and Alex go to the hospital, and we see one of the most ridiculous scenes. They're standing outside the hospital room while they pull the sheet over a clown's head as he's flatlining.
That was pretty tough to watch. I'm like, should I be laughing right now? Because I am.
I know.
And Dalton's all like, he was supposed to be protecting me from bulls, not from bullets.
Oh. So perfect.
Meanwhile, back at the rodeo, Trevette comes running out of some trailer with a folded up, faxed copy of the guy's photo. And he's like, oh, yeah, he's this hitman guy. And he's not working alone. That Buckle Bunny that's been hitting on you, Walker, is the other assassin. And this is when we finally learn her name, which is Patty. And then they're like, wait, where's Alex?
Yeah, where's Alex and where's Dalton? They're like, oh, they're at the hospital. You didn't send a unit with them? What?
So Walker calls Alex, and Alex is on the road with her cool mobile phone. And she and Dalton are driving, I guess, to the next city or driving back to the rodeo. And then we finally see Betty behind them. Is that her? Oh, no, Patty. That's her name. Forgive me for not remembering it because we hear it once in the entire episode. But yeah, Patty is now trailing them. And she's in her rodeo outfit and in a convertible. And it's at this moment that I realized that we're about to witness something truly spectacular.
This was one of Conan O'Brien's clips. Like, she's literally shooting the truck. And Walker's at the other rodeo. They're at least a hospital distance away from this rodeo. And Walker has to get from said rodeo to a car chase that's already happening with a murderer assassin pretty much just about to kill 2 people. How is he going to get there in time?
You know, we get to see his eyes race over towards a billboard advertising skywriting.
Yeah.
And the light bulb goes off. And the next scene, you know, he's in a biplane and headed towards the action.
I thought he was solo flying it.
Exactly. The first shot doesn't show the pilot. It shows Walker. I'm like, is he piloting this himself? We've seen this done with a helicopter. We have not seen this done with a biplane. And this was tasteful. This was tastefully done. Evan, what do we got here? What happened?
Yeah.
So we've got the RV being pursued by a convertible. And then we've got a yellow biplane that is in hot pursuit of the convertible. And with great fanfare and much editing, it's made to look like Walker, not Kenny Gibson, his stunt double, is climbing out onto the lower wing, the right lower wing of the biplane. This is legit happening, by the way. There's a person, while the plane is flying low, a person standing out on the lower wing.
Yeah, they actually did that.
Yes. Back then, the computer generation was so bad that it would be quite obvious if it were fake. But, yeah, this plane comes right up on the convertible, and Patty doesn't really realize it until a bit too late, and she fires one shot off. But if Bob's pet peeve is people diving forwards when they're shot off balconies, my pet peeve is like when someone fires a gun at someone at point blank range and they duck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, you got to try.
I don't think you have the reaction time. Anyways, Walker moves his foot out of the way so that he doesn't get hit by a bullet, I guess. I don't know. But before Patty can say butt contest, Walker's jumping down on top of this convertible, ripping her out of the driver's seat and taking control of the vehicle. And she tries to fight back.
Right.
Doesn't go well.
Yeah. With like one motion, he's in the driver's seat from the back seat, and she tries to do some monkey business, and then he just takes his right hand and slams her in the face, and she's out. And that's like the 2 seconds they took for Conan O'Brien, where it was just kind of like Walker punching a chick with no context. Which, I mean, this was an assassin who's trying to kill the assistant district attorney. She's a murderer.
And a respected bull rider.
Dalton. Yeah. She's trying to kill a Dalton.
Oh, I also forgot to mention that while Walker is coming down on the biplane, she pulls up alongside of the RV and
oh my God,
sticks on a bomb to the side of the RV.
Yeah, we were gonna do this movie called Invasion USA for our Christmas episode, and the bad guys in the movie Invasion USA do this same thing. They drive up to a school bus of children.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
And they adhere a thing of C4 dynamite to the moving school bus with some sort of adhesive, and then the same exact thing happens. Walker, who's now in control of the car, pulls up, sees the C4, takes it off the school bus, in this case, the RB, throws it off into the field, and it explodes without hurting anybody.
I believe I'd use the term, he hucks it into a field. That's the correct way to describe what he did.
It's a Walker huck and duck situation.
Anyways, that pretty much resolves all the conflict. All the assassins have been accounted for, and Dalton can go back to his rodeo ways. And the next scene, we see them at the rodeo. Sparks still flying between Alex and Dalton. I don't know what's going on, right? I'm like, well, how can they possibly, wrap this up in the next minute and a half? So, like, is he going to get trampled by the bull when he goes riding? What is going to happen? But instead, she gives him a kiss before he goes and rides the bull. And then she goes back to the stands, sits between Walker and Trevette, and Walker hugs her while they cheer on Dalton. Freeze frame. What's happening? I'm confused.
Pretty much, Dalton says, hey, look, just give me one more season of the rodeo. And Alex is like, okay. And that was it. We're like, I guess after a season, they're going to get back together. So I don't know how long a season is.
Well, keep in mind, we just saw, season 4 episode something else. And there was no Dalton in it. So I don't know.
Well, yeah. I hope he comes back, but I don't think he does.
Fantastic. Well, that about sums up this episode. We'd like to give a shout out to our friend and collaborator, Adam Lauritsen, who has been drawing the amazing walkerstrations that you see on our social media. Be sure to check out his other art on Instagram at @imagination_run_amok.
Yep, and he actually just released the start of his graphic novel online this week. So if you're interested in checking that out, head over to webtoons.com and search for Carl's Castle Quest. It's cool. I've read the first chapter. I'm excited to see where it goes. Be sure to check it out if you're into comic books or anything like that. Or if you're a fan of the walkerstrations he does here for us on the social media every week.
That's Carl with a K. All right, well, when we come back, it's going to be time for us to each rate Rodeo on a scale of 0 to 10 boots to the face, resulting in our patented Roundhouse Roulette episode ranking, the complete results of which are available on our website, roundhouseroulette.com. Don't go away.
What you looking at, Adam Dalton?
I'm just going through some old photos.
Say, is that you and Alex Cahill?
Yeah, actually, yeah. We used to date back in my rodeo days.
Unbelievable.
It is, ain't it?
Well, I mean, as you surely know, Adam, much like them rodeo cowboys, we here at Roundhouse Roulette have our own particular creed, in that we pledge to deliver the light of Walker, Texas Ranger to the world. If you listeners would like to join us in that mission, please share the pod with a friend, or leave us a kind review wherever you get your podcasts. Believe it or not, it truly helps other Walkerites find the cast. If you'd like to further support the show, be sure to check out our fine apparel and vintage action figures at roundhouseroulette.com or join the fun on our Patreon page. Most importantly, though, we thank you for listening.
Hey guys, what's up?
Oh, Adam's just showing off that he used to date Alex Cahill.
Oh, let me see that picture. It says, Dalton, I will always treasure these moments. Heart, Alex. Wait a minute. You just pasted your face over Texas rodeo legend Dalton Reed. You'd never stand a chance dating a woman of her kind. Did you buy this on eBay?
Oh, dude, seriously, dude? How long have you been living this lie?
Guys, I don't have much in... His first name was my last. I wasn't hurting anybody.
Tell that to poor old Alex Cahill. Let's leave you to wallow alone in your shame and get on back to that show.
Oh, God. I'm a loser.
Well, welcome back. So, what did you guys think of this one?
Man, I actually enjoyed this episode a lot, even though there wasn't a lot of action in it. I think it was because the Cahill-Dalton relationship was very well acted. They don't usually give a reason for you to care about the characters. You know what I mean? Is that fair to say?
Yes. Characters are very disposable on the show.
So it was kind of nice to actually give some backstory to Alex's character and to actually not have her be the kidnap victim or the person in danger. It was just her boyfriend this time.
It was refreshing.
But for people who are fans of Walker, the action in Walker, there really wasn't a lot of fighting. It was kind of deferred to Chuck Norris's buddies who, it's cool. They got a shout out in this episode for teaching him how to fight. But we wanted to see Chuck Norris fight, and so when it was getting along and I'm like, I don't know that I'd really be able to recommend this episode to people, even though he does ride a bull. So, but it was kind of lacking until we get the biplane at the end. And we get a great vehicular transference of biplane to convertible. Very tasteful. We get the classic Conan O'Brien clip of Walker punching a chick out while he drives a convertible. Ridiculous. And, we get a really good story for Alex Cahill, at least in terms of this show, Walker, Texas Ranger. So I would recommend this episode, but it was kind of slow to get there. I'm going to go with a 5.
I agree that the episode did not... Well, it started real strong in the first 30 seconds. That bad guy was great.
Yeah.
I mean, the episode started high and then immediately kind of took an interesting pace. And that's kind of been my focus in the past few episodes is the pace. I kind of like this one. The lack of actual fighting was disappointing. But like you said, the last 5 minutes of the episode, maybe 10 minutes was stellar. I mean, the Trevette thing really bugged me again.
Yeah, you definitely get some minus points for the rodeo clown. For making Trevette a rodeo clown, you get docked some points.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I kind of had this one a little higher. I had this one at a 7.
Okay.
Wow, all right.
I don't really know why, but I think most of it was at the end, definitely.
I think you were feeling the love story.
It could be. And maybe I just don't want to admit it, you know?
Interesting. Well, I'm going to cut right in the middle at a 6 because I think this episode, it had all the makings of an incredible episode, but it maybe fell victim to what season it happened in. If this happened in like season 7, this episode would have been completely over the top. There'd be explosions, ridiculous sound effects. The bad guy would be even more ridiculous. If this happened in season 2, it would be far grittier. There wouldn't be any guest stars of martial artist people. And Walker would be doing all the work. And it fell somewhere in between. Also, if it were season 7, like Walker would have won the rodeo. Like there would have been all of that.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like middle of the road, kind of like, well, he didn't win the rodeo and he's not really getting the girl. And so if I were going truly middle of the road, it'd be a 5. That said, we saw the dramatic death of a clown. Automatically gets another point. So it's a 6 for me.
I respect that. But I think, Evan, you need to defer to Walker on this.
I don't care what you want, Dalton. You're going to get it whether you like it or not.
Yep, and he gets a 6. That gives this episode a Roundhouse rating of what? 6 boots to the face? And I think we can all agree that Dalton is a better last name than a first name. But please let us know what you think on social media by emailing us at roundhouseroulette@gmail.com. And when we come back, we're going to spin that Roundhouse Roulette wheel and select our next episode. All right, Bob, you ready to spin that thing?
Let's do this.
All right, let's get a 10 here. Come on now.
I'll do my best.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, no.
Oh! Here we
I think we
go.
hit the jackpot. It's the pilot.
Oh, man. We got the pilot, the very first episode of Walker, Texas Ranger. We've been waiting over a quarter of the episodes for this.
And I really thought we were going to get a season 9 episode.
Yeah,
so
man,
this just...
I know. Season 1, episode 1. One Riot, One Ranger. This pulse-pounding 2-hour premiere episode introduces Cordell Walker, a contemporary Texas Ranger who could have stepped out of the Old West. After his partner is killed in a bank heist, Walker seeks vengeance on the killer and uncovers the next daring scheme. Original air date, April 21st, 1993. Well, I've got something that I've been waiting for this moment to share with you.
Wow.
Are you okay?
No, I'm not. I've been waiting almost 2 years for this. So, as you guys know, I like to watch Walker, Texas Ranger eBay listings, right? And I may or may not have purchased an actually used script from One Riot, One Ranger.
This doesn't surprise me at all.
And scanned in all 200 pages. So apparently this script came from an extra. And so the first, as we heard in our interviews with Mignon and a number of the people who worked on the show, the pilot season was done by Canon Films, who did Chuck Norris's movies, and was, from their words, kind of a mess. But they kind of show like all the cast and all extras, the sets used, the vehicles used, and then all the dialogue for the whole thing. As you guys know, there is a epic scene with Trevette in the Speedo, and let's just say we will be reading the description of said scene in the following podcast on that episode from the script, because it's unbelievable. Just a little teaser for next podcast here.
All right. Well, we hope you'll join us next time when we share our reactions to the Walker, Texas Ranger pilot, One Riot, One Ranger.
Oh, I'm so psyched.
In the meantime, share your opinions with us on Facebook and on Instagram at Roundhouse Roulette and on Twitter at Roundhouse Pod. And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time,
May the eyes of the Ranger be upon you. When you're in Texas, look behind you. Oh, 'cause that's where the Ranger's gonna be.